This is the J. Scott Outdoors podcast on Western big game hunting and fishing, and I'm your host, Jay Scott. I live and breathe hunting and fishing, spending half the year in the field enjoying God's creation. I hope you'll enjoy hearing about our adventures. Welcome to the J. Scott Outdoors podcast. Today we have a guest that's a good friend of mine, David Virostko from the Huntin Fool, and also David is the outfitter and head guide at NorthRim Outfitters. David, how you doing today?
Great. How you doing, Jay?
Just pretty good. Today being March 1st, kind of getting ready and excited for thinking about the fall. What kind of moisture have you guys been getting up there in this last storm?
You know what? I was actually starting to get nervous. It was really dry for a while, but last Monday I got over 10 inches at my house of snow in Kanab, Utah, and I'm looking out my window right now, and it's still coming down. So I think we're going to be in great shape.
That's awesome. And David, why don't you tell some of my listeners that don't know you a little bit about yourself? You and I have been friends for some time, and I've known you originally when you were working with Ryan Hatch over at Muley Crazy. And just give my listeners a little bit of background on you and what you got going on.
Sure. I've lived in central and southern Utah since the late 80s. My mom moved me and my two brothers to Richfield, Utah. I think it was about 1989. Shortly after, she remarried a great guy. He was kind of an avid archery hunter, and I had a bow in my hand before I could even blink. Back then, we had to wait till we were 14 years old to hunt big game, but the minute I turned 12, we were always chasing chukars, pine hens, ducks, geese, pheasants, whatever was in season. And then once I got my driver's license, the world expanded beyond anything I could ever imagine. My dad is a really simple hunter. My stepdad, I call him dad,
sure.
But he's extremely dedicated, but he never really left the nest much. He never applied out of state or really ventured to see if the grass was greener on the other side of the hill, but he instilled in me the basics of hunting, fishing, and the outdoors, and the passion I have now in my personal hunting career stems directly from those basics that he instilled in me when I was 10. So, like many other hunters out there, I owe pretty much everything to a great man who took the time to share his passion with a young, hungry, and,
Yeah, and I think that's evident in your life as well. I follow you on Instagram and on Facebook, and we talk every once in a while, and it's obvious that, you're getting your own kids in hunting and fishing, and it seems as though they enjoy the outdoors. So it's nice to see you passing that on, that tradition that we love so much. Tell me what it's like to share some of that with your kids.
Oh, it's awesome. I mean, and subliminally, I think, we do it because without that recruitment, we don't have a future as hunters or conservationists or anybody that loves the outdoors or hunting as a whole. So, yeah. I mean, it's awesome. It's not, I don't really look at it like I take time to do it. It's just a way of life for us. And so, like I say, I'm extremely grateful for my stepdad for doing what he did with me and my brothers when we were growing up. And he developed a lifestyle. It's just how it is. My kids don't know any different than to go set traps in December and to go ice fishing when it's cold and, go up on the mountain when the leaves are changing. So, it's awesome. And I think, like, there's a lot that can be learned, not about hunting, but about life, about us as human beings, just by experiencing those things, and passing it on. So.
Absolutely. Well, kudos for you for getting them involved. And David, you serve as a hunting consultant for the Huntin Fool magazine. Give me a little breakdown on what you do, kind of everyday life there at Huntin Fool, and what you encounter each day at your job.
Sure. What the Huntin Fool provides, and it's funny that you asked that question because I've always tried to put my finger on what exactly the Huntin Fool provides because there's so much. It's hard to wrap it up in a one-line slogan but basically what we do is provide the information, the data, everything you need to maximize your current and future hunting desires, goals, career, whatever it is. We have 7 full-time consultants on hand that instead of all of us specializing everywhere, we each have our own little niche and we each lean on each other, and it's a really dynamic team of guys. Jeff Warren, I remember Jeff when I was a kid when he was running Bucks and Bulls Outfitters. I've looked up to Jeff forever, and there's very few people that have been in the industry as long as he has and has the knowledge and the connections that he has. We've got a couple guys out of Montana, a couple guys out of Utah. And we all have a different passion. So what we do is provide a monthly publication that we research all the statistical data needed so that you have the most current information on current regulations, cost of tags, draw odds, available tags, if they shut the unit down, if they open a new unit up, what we personally feel about those units in our comment section. So it gives you a better feel, and basically we do the homework for you. Even the DIY guys out there that like to do their own applications rely on that magazine we provide, because we condense the proclamation from year to year, the different states' hunting regulations from year to year, and it's right there in the palm of your hand every month. So on top of that magazine, we also do one-on-one consulting. For our premium members, you can call in and talk to me and my 6 colleagues and ask us anything you want. We'll give you the honest answer. We'll give you the honest truth. If we don't know, the one thing I love about the Huntin' Fool is if we don't know, we're not afraid to say I don't know, but we'll find out. If it's a phone call back or an email back, we'll get it figured out and get you the answer you're looking for.
Yeah, I've been a member of Huntin' Fool. It's probably been at least 10 years, and I look forward to getting the magazine every month, and look forward to seeing all the great hunting stories and seeing a lot of the great information about each state. And I don't put in for every western state, but I put in for a lot of them, and it seems like that it's been a very valuable tool over the years. David, you also own and operate NorthRim Outfitters, which I believe guides primarily in Utah and in Arizona. Give me a little bit of background on your guiding operation, NorthRim Outfitters, and how they can contact you through NorthRim Outfitters.
Sure. Yeah, I've owned and operated NorthRim Outfitters since the early 2000s. I want to say it was 2003 when we officially hung a shingle out there. But we've I've worked with some of the other great outfitters in the state of Utah, for, since the late 90s. So we primarily specialize in central and southern Utah for deer, elk, and sheep. We do have a small operation in northern Utah for moose hunts and the Rockies that are up there as well. And we also, I live right on the border of Arizona. Kanab's just smack dab right on the line, and so it's hard not to go run south and play on the Arizona Strip when we get a chance. So we outfit in northern Arizona, central and southern Utah.
Awesome. And David, I know you personally, so I probably know the answer to this question. But out of all those animals that you hunt and guide for, I think it's funny when people ask, when my wife and I are in a mixed setting, and someone says, "Well, Jay, what do you like to hunt the most?" My wife always laughs because her answer is always, whatever animal is in season at that time is my favorite. But do you have a specific animal that, just takes the cake as far as being your favorite animal to hunt or guide for?
Oh, yeah. And like you said, the answer to this. But hands down, unequivocally, second place is not even close to mule deer for me. Yeah. It's been my passion since I was a kid, and it always will be. I've killed elk, antelope, lions, bears, turkeys with my own tags across the West, and I've killed the same animals with clients as well as sheep, mountain goat, moose, and I've enjoyed every single one of those adventures, but mule deer will always have my undivided attention, always. There's just something about mule deer that I think seems to captivate every hunter who grew up out here in the West, because it's funny, working at the Huntin' Fool has really opened my eyes a lot to what the masses really want to come hunt. And by the masses, I mean the guys east of the Mississippi. You know,
Sure.
the guys who have always wanted to hunt out west and experience the adventure of what we have to offer. And, you know, amazingly to me, I was shocked because it's really not mule deer. They want to come out west and hunt elk. They want to hear those screams and see a rut-crazed bull with a herd of cows just commanding a hillside. And I guess to them, that's what the Wild West, you know, represents, a big old dirty bull bugling his guts out. But, you know, to many of us who grew up out here, the icon of the West is mule deer. And I don't know. It's funny because I've been thinking about that a lot the last 12 months because I don't know what the reason for that really is. Growing up in Utah, I had the opportunity to hunt mule deer every single year. I could shoot as big a buck as we could find. But the general season elk hunting here in Utah is primarily spike only. And don't get me wrong, I love killing spikes too, but, you know, while I might, and I say that really tentatively, I might have a chance someday to hunt a big bull in my own state with my own tag, I have ample opportunity to hunt bucks every year. And I think to me that's why, you know, guys out west have such a deep passion for mule deer. You know, I think it's a more subliminal reasoning as to why people love big bucks out here, as opposed to the obvious reason that mule deer are just so awesome of an animal to hunt. But, you know, so I don't know. I mean, mule deer will just always, they'll always be my favorite animal to hunt with clients and for myself, so.
Yeah, and most of your mule deer hunting, you grew up hunting all around Richfield in Utah, and were those general tags statewide, or did you have to stay in certain areas? That's a question I've always wondered.
You know, it's funny because it's evolved. Looking back, when you stop and think about it, it's evolved drastically. You know, since I've been able to hunt since '92. You know, I think is when I had my first deer tag. That very first year, they had it set up where you bought a deer tag and you could archery, rifle, and the muzzleloader hunts were even in November. You could hunt all 3 seasons till you killed a deer. You know, and it was actually 3-pointer better that first year. You couldn't shoot a buck unless it was 3-pointer better. And I mean, like I said, how the times have changed because now there's so much. Anytime there's more demand than there is supply, you know, you have to tweak and you have to modify, and you can either hang it up or just roll with the punches. But things are a lot different now. Some of those general season units that I grew up hunting one of them's a limited entry unit now, and one was, and now it's general season again. So, I mean, the state of Utah has always been, I think, really proactive in trying to modify what's best for, I don't know. I want to say for the deer, but I also want to say, you know, truthfully for the pocketbook. And so, I mean, I think they do a fair job at meeting in the middle somewhere, but the times have really changed. And now there's a couple different programs for our general seasons in Utah. You can apply for a general season tag. You can join what we call our dedicated hunter program, which there are some stipulations to be involved in that program. One of them is donating service hours, 32 service hours within a 3-year period. It costs a little bit more money, but you get a guaranteed tag with the dedicated hunter program, which allows you to hunt deer for 3 years. Now you can only kill 2 deer within that 3-year period. So if you kill a deer the first year and the second year, you're riding the pine that 3rd year. But if you're kind of picky, then you can kill a deer that 2nd, 3rd year in the program. The biggest bonus to the dedicated hunter program is that you're allowed to hunt all 3 seasons. So you can archery, muzzleload, and rifle, which is, for the guy who just wants to go hunting every year and doesn't want to worry about drawing a tag, it's a definite plus. So
that's awesome. You know, David, so that allows you to hunt deer every year, almost every year. What is it this time of year? You're obviously probably getting ready for shed season. What are you doing right now in preparation for next year's deer season? And over the next coming couple of months in the off season, what are you doing? Well,
you know, it's funny because the Paunsaugunt deer herd, for example, where I live, it's one of a lot of deer herds migrate, but But this deer herd is special in its migration because it doesn't migrate because of weather, doesn't migrate because of rut, doesn't migrate because of feed. They migrate because their mamas told them to when they were babies, and they migrate a long ways in a short period of time. So it makes it really frustrating as an outfitter and a guide because this happens right around the muzzleloader and rifle season. So I don't care who you are. When they start migrating, you might as well wipe that slate clean, because you're going to start from scratch if you don't do some winter scouting. And it sounds kind of weird. A lot of guys like to go out on the winter range and go look at deer and take pictures of deer and get ready to pick up sheds, but we actually scout in the winter. Like, we run cameras and we go out and actually scout, because if we can find that buck on the winter range, odds are we might have seen him earlier that year in the summer, but if we haven't, we're going to look for him. And if we have point A and point B, we can typically have a really good guess of where they're going to migrate because of where they were located. And that puts a really slight advantage for our hunters on the muzzleloader and rifle seasons when that migration occurs. And it's paid off, it's paid off multiple times. So, we scout a lot in the winter down here,
And when you say winter, David, specify which months are you talking about?
December through about right now, middle of March. But we put a lot of emphasis on the last week of November to right before Christmas because of the rut. Because even those big old dirty bucks, they'll come out and rut and we'll see them. And we might find their sheds in March or something, but we might not have seen them for 2 months and they're still right there. So that's our best time to see what lived through the hunts, get a good idea where they were rutting, where they're probably going to shed, so we can kind of have point A back in the velvet. So
that leads me to my next question of circling back to what you just said, brings up a great point. So you're basically trying to connect two common points where you've seen the bucks and try and connect those points through judging and guessing where their travel corridor might be, so that when those late November hunts and such hit, or mid-November hunts hit, you will be in the right place, hopefully at the right time.
Yes, sir. Yep. That's, like I say, I think that's what is, at least on the Paunsaugunt, I know that's what sets us above anybody else that guides and outfits down here. And I say that humbly. I don't like to come across as being the best, but we have a huge advantage. I live here. I say it to people all the time, but myself and the guides who work for me, especially the ones that live in Kanab, we literally scout more on accident than most guys do on purpose, just for one simple reason. We live here. We love what we do. We're proud of what we do, and there's no better feeling in the world than sending a client home with an animal that smashes what they had as far as expectations. And so, like, whether it's just after church, going out for a drive or setting traps or whatever it is, we're spending so much time on this unit particularly that, it's a huge advantage against what other guys that come down here and guide an outfit do. They'll scout their guts out, and a couple of the guys have done it long enough now, decade is what I'm talking about, that they understand the migrations and things, and so they'll go sit those areas. But I'm trying to think, in the last 5 years, the 5 biggest bucks we've killed have been in 5 different places on the unit. They're never just right here, right here, right here, So
it's not like there's one specific honey hole. It's more like specifically for that buck, there's a honey hole for that buck, and you've been able to be in the right place at the right time on that particular buck.
Yes, exactly. So,
and David, in talking about your successes on the Paunsaugunt, give me an idea in maybe inches in width. Give me some of the bucks over the last, say, 5 whatever years. What kind of bucks have your clients been killing?
The best buck we've ever killed on the Paunsaugunt, score wise, was just a touch over 222. I've killed 2 giant typicals that have netted over 200 on the Paunsaugunt, one of them netting 207, and on that buck in particular, it was far from just a one-man show. There was a lot of key guys involved. Ryan was there, another Kanab resident, Tory Brock, was there. So, it was with a special tag. So, a lot, and touching on that too, a lot of this stuff, it doesn't work without a good team. So I don't want to ever get up on a pedestal and say, look at me. Absolutely. Because I might be the guy that's doing the phone calls and a lot of the time in the field with some of those guys, but it's not just me. There's a lot of good guys. So
absolutely, yeah, and knowing you and knowing how humble you are, I can speak for you in that it is a team effort. You are fantastic at what you do, but you're never shy of giving credit where credit is due.
Yeah. But going back to that too, we always seem to kill a couple over the magical 200-inch mark a year. Last year, the best buck we killed was 212 on the rifle hunt. We actually missed him a couple times on the archery hunt.
Wow.
So, but we, and we kill several other bucks over 180. I think the widest buck we killed a 35-inch wide typical one year that was awesome. So, I mean, there's like I say, I'm blessed to live right where I live and to be around the caliber of bucks that are here.
Yeah, I mean, you can just hear it in your voice, the passion you have for it. What season would you say is your favorite, or is it matter of just get a tag on the Paunsaugunt and they each have their own, unique characteristics?
No, on the Paunsaugunt, I mean, Any other unit, I'd just say get a tag and let's go hunt. But the Paunsaugunt is really, one hunt stands above the other two, and that's the archery hunt. Without question, it's the archery hunt. I love the archery hunt way more than the muzzleloader and the rifle hunt. The archery hunt, I can find a deer, I can pattern him, and I can kill him because he's up there. Like we talked about earlier with the migration, it makes it tough. And they usually start around that first week of October, second week of October, they pick up and leave. Our muzzleloader, like this year, the muzzleloader hunt will actually be pretty good because the dates are September 23rd through October 1st, I believe. And so
before they move now.
Yeah, yep. They're going to split up and get out of their bachelor groups and rub up and be a little bit tougher to locate because of that, but they're still going to be there somewhere. And the rifle hunt starts October 17th and I think goes to the 25th this year. So I think that hunt's going to be the toughest of the three this year. But going back to the original question, the archery hunt is hands down my favorite hunt to guide. In fact, I should, with the points I have this year, if I'm lucky enough, I'll have a tag of my own. But
that's awesome. So what I hear you saying is, from the predictability standpoint, the archery's the best because those are resident bucks that are there. You know exactly where they eat, where they sleep, where they feed, yep, everything that they do. Whereas the rifle hunt in late October, mid-October, is that correct, the rifle hunt? Or you're saying the muzzleloader hunts before October 1st, or it's at the end of September. Yeah. That's also predictable. But the rifle hunt can be very good. The later hunt can be good, but the predictability is kind of out of the question, and it becomes more of just knowing kind of where to be, yep, and trying to predict which pocket to be in, but not necessarily, you may see a new buck you've never seen, right?
Right, and that's, but I'm a lot like you, Jay, where I like to go hunt particular animals. I like to kill particular animals. I don't mind just going hunting either, but I love having purpose, and so normally on that rifle hunt, we'll have 10% purpose and 90% let's just go hunting. And the archery hunt is 100% purpose. We're going to go hunt this buck. We're going to kill this buck. The muzzleloader hunt now next year, I don't think you could give me a muzzleloader hunter next year because those dates are going to roll, and it is going to be smack dab in the middle of when most of the deer start migrating. And man, that's just tough. It's really, really tough. So not saying, it can't be done, but it will be a tough muzzleloader hunt in 2016 on the Paunsaugunt for sure.
So is the Paunsaugunt back? I mean, tell me when the glory years of the Paunsaugunt were, and then there was a rough patch when the Paunsaugunt was way down, deer numbers and such. And is it back, David?
Nah, I don't think so. I really don't. I think
when was the heyday?
The late, mid to late 80s, and I hear, working with Ryan for 11 years, I heard story after story of just, oh my God, you had it easy back when you were running guys around here, just always giving him crap. But no, I mean, the late 80s, mid to late 80s was the heydays for sure. Early 90s was awesome. And then they started issuing too many tags, and we just started killing our recruitment, and it's a tough road to hoe once you do that. I mean, one slaughter year, you got to think about that. You kill a age class off that you probably shouldn't have. You've got to wait for a bumper crop of fawns to come that have good buck numbers, and they've got to reach 4 or 5 years old. So it's not like it's just going to recover overnight or even year to year. So I think with today's social media and electronic world, I think a lot of the top end bucks get showcased and everybody sees them. So it seems like the unit's back. It seems like things are awesome, but in all reality, 5 or 6 guys on that rifle hunt are going to kill the buck that all 120 of them wanted to kill, and same with the archery, 1 or 2 guys are going to kill the type of buck that 35 wanted to kill. So, it's not bad. I shouldn't say that. We do have, in fact, just this winter alone, I noticed a lot of great 3 to 5 year old deer that, we had like we'd started this conversation with, we got great moisture. We've had an extremely mild winter. Those deer are going to burn winter fat walking back up, migrating north. They're not in bad shape at all. They're healthy as heck. Does are going to drop good fawns. So, I mean, this year right here, the 14-15 winter, was phenomenal on many different levels because, the fawn crop, it's going to be a healthy fawn crop, which I keep going back to recruitment, but that's the key to it all.
And David, I want to touch on something you said that I talk to people a lot in the conversations about elk and antler growth down here in Arizona. And one thing, as you know, is, when they're dropping their horns, their antlers, they have to be getting their body in good condition. And if the winter is too cold and too much snow in the winter, and you jump in at any time if you feel like I'm saying something that's wrong, but I always say, we want moisture, we want, snow in the winter, but we don't want it to be so cold that they have to really fight for food. And the most important thing for good antler growth is, one of the most important things is that they go into the initial growing season with good body condition. Can you touch on that a little bit?
No, you're exactly right. I mean, 100%. And it's the thing that I was saying about the 14-15 winter was, it was a couple weeks ago was the last day of trapping season here in Utah, and me and my boy went out to pull our last line of traps, and he took his shirt off walking back the truck because it was warm. Our deer have had green, and green's really important. A lot of the deer depend on browse during the winter, but that spring green is really important before they leave this southern winter range and head back north. And they've had green all winter long until last Monday when it got covered up with snow. So it was almost like the best of both worlds. They had green all winter long. They're in great shape. It never really got cold. And like you said earlier, more important than snow levels, that people talk about winter mortality. They think about heavy snows and, they died because of the snow. It's the cold temperatures that kill them. I mean, the Gunnison Basin in Colorado is a perfect example, 07, 08. It's the freezing cold temperatures. They got dumped with snow, couldn't get any feed, but it was the cold that killed them. I mean, deer are tough animals, but they can live on minimal feed. But if it gets down in those sub-zero temperatures, it'll kill them quick. And so this winter's been really good as far as temperatures have been great. Green's been going good. I drive past the Arizona Strip on my way to work almost every morning, and it's looking awesome. We got a huge buckets of rain about 3 weeks ago, and then we got this snow. So, knock on wood, it's early. It's March 1st, and there's still time for things to dry up and burn up. But I think we're in great shape, especially on the Paunsaugunt. I mean, as far as the health of our deer, it's going to be a fun year.
Awesome. And you mentioned the Arizona Strip, and you also guide down on the Arizona Strip. Let's shift gears just a little bit and talk about the Arizona Strip, specifically 13A and 13B. And you alluded to conditions being pretty good. Are they better than pretty good, or are they just pretty good?
Well, I don't know. I'm an optimist when I got a hunter in camp or I'm hunting my own tag, but I'm a pessimist when it comes to this time of year because it's tough because it can change on a dime. But my gut tells me that it's going to be great. I think it's going to be a little bit better than great, just because it's not necessarily, you look at annual precip falls, and the amounts that you get, your inches per year and things like that. And those are important. But on the Arizona Strip especially, it's all about the timing. You could get buckets and buckets in July and August, and that doesn't mean crap. You know, it really doesn't. So it's just about getting those perfectly timed storms, which right now is awesome. We get another one in April, and I'll get back on your show and say it's going to be off the charts. You know what I mean? But that's what it is right now. We're in great shape. So.
And if I remember correctly, and the Arizona Strip is certainly not in my area of expertise at all, but I know like our northern units 9 and 10 for elk. I mean, I know last year we had a big monsoon moisture. It was too late for the elk antlers, to take advantage of it. But correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't the Arizona Strip have good late monsoonal moisture and pretty good fall moisture going into the fall last year?
They had great monsoonal moisture, and they had adequate fall moisture, in my opinion.
Okay.
And so, like I say, if one of those two is bad, then I don't care what happens right now till June. It's not going to be good because that moisture, like I said, at the perfect time, is more important than the amount that they get. But no, I think, like I say, I think we're going to be great.
And on the Arizona Strip, with the archery hunts being in August, and then the rifle hunts obviously being, I believe the B hunt is always first and the A hunt is second. You guide for those hunts and have in the past. What are some of your successes in the past however many years with bucks for my listeners as far as size, width, total inches, etc.?
Well, I've been killing bucks on the Arizona Strip since 2004, but I was blessed beyond reason to have worked with Ryan and Muley Crazy, Ryan Hatch and Muley Crazy Magazine from 2003 to 2014. And it was during that time, I shadowed one of the all-time greats, Ryan Hatch himself. And together we helped kill 3 of the greatest bucks ever taken on the Strip. A buck we named Samson in 2004 that scored 295. A buck we had nicknamed Houdini in 2008. We killed him in 2008 that scored 321. A buck we had nicknamed Lucky in 11 that scored 268. So, I mean, you look back at that and you go, holy crap, those are giants. I mean, just as big as they get, giants. And but on top of those 3, Ryan and I also helped kill several other bucks north of 210, with many of them north of 220. And so it's hard to really compare that decade stretch of my career with anything that's going to happen after it, because Ryan and I were a great team, and, we still are if we ever get hooked up together in camp with a hunter. It's a lot of fun. But I'm really, really selective with booking hunters on the Strip, because, if the hunter sounds like they might not be too fun to be with, I won't book them. I just really won't. The Arizona Strip is too special of a place for me. It's so much fun when you don't have to be out there, and it can be flat out miserable when you're forced to be out there. And so, I try to book my Arizona hunts with hunters who seem a lot like us, who will make it seem like we don't have to be out there, if that makes any sense.
And talk to me a little bit about that. I mean, in this game of inches, which we all play and we all, want to be a part of, and I say we all because I truly believe, whether someone is in the score or not, if they shot a big 280 buck, they would be telling everybody my buck scores 280. So, I mean, tell me about people's attitudes, hunters' attitudes, your own attitudes, and how my friend Craig Steele out of Kingman has a hunt for more. I mean, tell me a little bit about how you deal with the game of inches and hunt for more.
Truthfully, it might be a pretty lame answer, but I really just try. I've been really blessed with. I'm an outfitter. I'm an avid outfitter. We take 20 plus hunters a year in Utah and Arizona and stuff, but I'm also really selective. And so the game of inches to me, it's a love-hate relationship. I love going with a guy that wants to kill the biggest and the best, because that's what we specialize in. And I honestly have looked at it on different levels too. Me and my wife have even talked about, I could probably take twice as many hunters, make twice as much money if I just wanted to book hunters and just go hunting and kill bucks. But to me and the guys that work for me, that's not what we want to do. We want to kill the biggest and the best. Whether the biggest and the best that year is a 190 buck or a 250 buck, we want to go after the biggest that we know about. And having said that, not to change the subject or anything, but we don't always hunt the biggest buck we know about, but we always hunt the biggest buck we know we have a chance at killing. And there's a difference, and it took me a long time to understand that. And a lot of guys that maybe left with an unfilled tag because I wanted to go kill the biggest and the best, even though I knew it probably wasn't going to happen. I just couldn't stand not hunting that animal. But I realized that I'd probably say 2006 or 7 that, you know, I'm not only wasting my time, but their once-in-a-lifetime hunt if that's the attitude you're going to have. And I think that's what they pay us for, is our knowledge on and off the field, you know, while we're there, and to make the best decision to make their hunt the best. So anyway, going back to the game of inches, I really do like the guys that want to go kill the biggest and the best. I really despise the guys that when they call me and say, hey, I drew a Paunsaugunt tag, I want a 200-incher. And I'll refer other outfitters. I really will, because it's not fair. I mean, we do it, and we do it every single year, but a guy that expects that, I've never had a guy that has expected that and had a great week of hunting with that guy. And
Sure.
so,
I mean, is your perfect scenario a guy that calls up and says, look, I want to hire you because I know how much you love it, you live it, you breathe it, you die it. I know what it means to you. I'm going to take my tag, put it in your corner, and say, whatever we get, and let's just go after it. I know you're going to go hard. I'm going to go hard. I'm going to be ready. I mean, is that what you want to hear from someone rather than someone saying, I want to kill a 200-incher?
Yep, it is. And I honestly, I respect those guys a little bit that call and say, I want a 200-incher, because they know what they want. I just personally don't want to strap myself with that guy because I just see like I said, I've been in it a long time and I've never had a fun week with a guy like that. The guy that calls and just like you just explained, that says, I trust you, I trust what you've done over the years, and let's go have a good hunt. Those guys, for whatever reason, they seem to create a new level of luck within themselves. And
yeah, I can't agree more. I see it in, you know, the elk and coos deer and bighorn sheep, and you know, I've seen pretty much every attitude there is that you know, guys hunting with me, and it always seems the guys that are caught up on a number and caught up on, you know, some specific number so they can tell their buddies. They never do as good. Their attitude's not as good. They don't have as much energy. You know, they're you know, heck out of the gate, and they just go like crazy for the first day, but you know, the other 9 days, they slowly peter out, whereas the guy that is there saying, I want to come and just enjoy the Arizona Strip, or I want to come and enjoy, you know, whatever unit, the Paunsaugunt, or, you know, whatever desert sheep unit, and, you know, when we decide to pull the trigger, we'll pull the trigger, and if we don't, we don't, and it seems like those guys almost always get the biggest trophy.
Oh, yeah, without question. Like I say, it's almost eerie. Like I said before, they have this different level of luck with them, and I think it's just, you know, like I say, it's that the attitude they bring with them. And you know, I've had guys with great. I had a guy last year on the Paunsaugunt, one of the funnest guys I've ever hunted with before, and you know, he was an older gentleman, and you know, he's just like, hey, I don't have to kill a 200-incher. Let's go have a fun hunt. And about day 5, we glassed up this great 193-inch buck and snuck down in there, and it was slow going because he was a little older, and we got 180 yards from him. Buck didn't know we were there, and I get the camera set up and ready to film everything, and he leans over the sticks and settles in, and then clicks the safety on, looks back at me and says, yeah, let's keep hunting. And I'm going, holy crap, you know, and I wasn't disappointed at all. Whereas another guy that would have been like, hey, I want a 190 buck, and I get him on one and he doesn't shoot it, I might have been a little upset, you know. Sure. This guy was just like, hey. In fact, another outfitter that I run around with a lot, Jake Best with Timber Mountain Outfitters, he was just over the hill with one of his guys. We hiked back the truck, went and found them guys and helped them kill it. So, you know,
awesome.
And it was a fun time. And then 2 days later, we shot a 31-inch wide, right at 190 buck that was just score-wise, it was a few inches smaller, but he just wasn't ready to pull the trigger. And, man, I wish that guy would have stayed for the other 2 days of the hunt just to pal around, I mean, those guys are just fun to be with. So the attitude is everything.
Yep. David, I want to go over some of the gear that you use as far as optics, and maybe specifically the gear you use now, but maybe some of the gear you've used in the past. And as far as optics, and speaking specifically about mule deer hunting, what are your go-to optics that you always have around your neck or in your pack, and tripod for that matter? Sure. Do you use a tripod? Do you not use a tripod?
Yep, no, I do, and it's funny because people, I think they correlate, guys like myself who might kind of be in the industry or be involved with some hunting publications, like we ride for the brand and we have one set of optics, and my optics box looks like a garage sale. I got Leica Geovid, Swarovski 15s, Vortex spot and scope, Leica spot and scope televid, so I've got a little bit of everything, and it's just what I've always liked, those Leica Geovids, they hang around my neck forever. In fact, I just barely ordered a pair of the, sorry about that.
No problem. It's a potential client calling to book a hunt.
I just barely ordered a new pair of the Geovids, they finally put that button on the right side and they're lighter, and so that's kind of what I like. So,
now those are the 10 power Geovids?
They are, yep.
Yeah, and so those are your binos that you keep around your neck at all times?
Yep, and they're really handy, simply because 90% of the time that I'm in the hills hunting, I'm with a client. And so I can throw those up, range an animal within 2 seconds, and I don't have to dig for a rangefinder. So it's just the best of both worlds, really quick, really easy. Okay. I always have a pair of either my Swarovskis. I just, believe this or not, I won a pair of Zeiss Conquest 15s the other night at a conservation banquet. So
no way.
Yeah, and I just barely put them on, mounted them up on the tripod mount, and took them out yesterday, and they're awesome. So I'll have either the Zeisses or the Swarovskis in my backpack at all time for long range and long hours of glassing, because there's nothing better than sitting down and putting those 15s to work. I used to just plop my 10s up and just hold them there, and that's great, but my eyes were opened when I started using 15s. So, and then I have, like I said before, I have the Leica Televid and the Vortex Razor HD spot and scope, depending on where we're at and what we're doing. The Leica is actually a little bit heavier. It's the older, the 77, and so if we're packing in somewhere, I usually take the Razor, and if not, then I'll take the Leica. But I use a pair of Swarovski carbon fiber legs with a Manfrotto 501 fluid head. That's just what I've always used. It's a little heavier than most guys are used to packing, but I grew up videoing stuff too, and so I always pack a video camera with me, and I like having that extra stability when I'm videoing. And so instead of packing a lightweight head and tripod, I just bear the extra weight.
Sure. Now, and you mentioned video camera. What video camera are you using now?
I have the Vixia HF, the G30. It's sweet too. It's got a lot of neat features.
What optical zoom is that? Because I have the G10, and when I bought the G10, it was kind of the new, small, great camera, but it only has a 10 power optical. What is the G30? I think has a 20 or maybe even a 30 optical.
It actually has a 20.
Okay.
But I had a buddy show me something 3 months after I'd bought it. It's got an internal optical doubler in one of the settings, so you can have 40 optical power. And I'd bought a detachable doubler to get myself 40 power, and I hate those screw-ons because they're high distortion glass. The edges are always blurry, And when he showed me that, I was just like, why didn't you show me that 3 months ago?
So do you leave it on the 40 power all the time, or do you just in certain situations when a buck or a bull or ram's out there, then do you go to the 40 power?
Yep, anything about 400 plus yards, I'll go to the 40 power. Or, if I, and you know how it is, sometimes you get that one perfect scenario where the animal, you're there and you're 200 yards, I'll video for 10 minutes back on 20, and then I'll get some close-up stuff. But the most important thing is it's optical, and so it's crystal, and it's almost got that new 4-dimensional look, kind of like the DSLRs, so it's a really awesome camera. It's not super expensive. I think it was only $1,500, and not bulky like the old GL2s and things like that, but it's not super compact. It's just right. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, I carry my G10. I have a little pouch on my belt, and literally just put it in there and carry it with me at all times. And I'm going to have to look into that G30. And is the switch to flip it to 40 power fairly easy to get to? And can you go back and forth between just the regular 20 and the 40 fairly easy?
Yep, you can. It's got a touch screen. It's got the flip open touch screen. And all you do is there's a button up in the top left when you're recording on 20 power. It's called function. And you hit the function. And then there's an arrow. You scroll down once. And there's a zoom. And then a 2 times. So, I mean, it's bam, bam, bam. So when you shut the camera off and start it back up, it's on 20 power. If you want to get to 40, it literally takes, I would say, 5-6 seconds, and you're on 40.
That's awesome. I just learned something right there. And then, David, as far as Digiscoping, are you primarily taking your video through the 40 power, or do you also then go and Digiscope through your spotting scope?
I did.
Or do you have an adapter that adapts the G30 to the spotting scope?
No.
Okay.
I don't. Just the G30. It actually is about. You remember the old GL2s? It's between your G10 and the old GL2s. It's not. You'd have to have a pretty beefy set of survey legs to set that up on your spotter. So when I do my Digiscoping, I've been a long time advocate of phone scope. I've known Cheston since forever, and I mean, I probably had one of the very, very first prototypes way back in like '09 when it was a bunch of PVC glued together, and so anyway, I use the phone scope a lot just on my Digiscoping because it's more than enough for what I need to do to get the data and get the information back for myself and for my clients. It's not, it's definitely not movie quality stuff as far as top end. We'll definitely be using it on a lot of our productions, just promo DVDs and webisodes and things like that. But what I love about the phone scope is I have my phone with me no matter what. It's always there. It slips on so easy to either that Razor or that Leica. I can take those memory cards out like that. It's a really slick, really simple, really honestly smart attachment to have for any hunter because we all have our phones with us, and so that's what I do most of my Digiscoping through.
That's awesome. That's great. Good gear stuff right there. Let's shift gears a little bit here, David, and give me your top 3 units in Utah for archery and maybe top 3 for rifle.
For what species?
For deer.
For deer? Well, top 3 archery it's really easy in Utah as far as the limited entry stuff because we have the Henry Mountains, and so
with that being the best, the Henry's by far the best.
Yeah, here's the thing. The success rate's really good. I think honestly the Henry Mountains, and this is probably a stupid statement to make, but I think the Henry Mountains is the only place I know of that you could literally hunt. You could literally hunt a different 180-inch plus deer with your bow every day of your season. You really could. The buck-to-doe ratio is just insane over there. There's only, I want to say 30, maybe 31 total archery hunters out there in that whole mountain range. And
it takes obviously a lot of points to draw over there in the Henrys, but you can also buy a conservation permit or what do those Henry conservation permits go for roughly?
They fluctuate a little bit. Every 3rd year on the Henry Mountains, the Sandy Ranch gets a landowner tag. And so on the years that Sandy Ranch has that 3rd available tag to purchase, it seems like the prices go down to around the $80,000 to $90,000 mark. This year the first one sold for $105,000 or $110,000 if I'm correct, and the other one was $95,000. So there's only 2 available this year.
And is that for archery, or is that unit wide for any weapon?
It's unit wide, and you choose your hunt. So you don't hunt all of them, but you can designate it for archery, you can designate it for muzzleloader, or designate it for rifle. So
Okay, and so the Henry Mountain's #1 for deer in your book, both archery and rifle.
Yeah.
What are number 2 and 3 for deer?
Well, and I say these simply from a trophy hunter standpoint, but the Paunsaugunt, it's right there archery wise for deer. And believe it or not, I probably have a hard time not looking at the general season unit for my third choice. Maybe the Pine Valley, the Southwest Desert, or the Boulder. All three of those general season units are number one. Before going any further, they're extremely crowded. There's a lot of hunters, but I look at that and I go, holy crap, for as many people are out in the hills and for them to continually over the last 3 years produce what they're producing, they're killing some of the best bucks in the state off these general season units. So it's hard for me to maybe say the Fillmore Oak Creek is a third choice, and the Fillmore Oak Creek, I think people are going to start hearing a lot about it in the next few years. They had a giant burn that went through there 3 years ago. It was a burn that burned hot. It really scorched the earth. They had to go reseed, but that seed took off really good, had great moisture, and they killed some whopper bucks off there last year. So, I guess to be fair and to keep it with the limited entry units, I'd probably have to say the Fillmore Oak Creek is my third choice.
Okay, and that's great information. And just to be clear, the Utah general season, that's only for residents, correct? Non-residents can't go hunt general season in Utah.
No, that's not correct.
Okay.
Non-residents can hunt the general season units. What it is there's two separate drawings. There's a limited entry drawing, which includes the premium limited entry units, the Henrys and the Paunsaugunt, and then there's limited entry units that include the Book Cliffs, the Fillmore Oak Creek, the San Juan, and a couple others up in northern Utah. And then there's the general season deer hunting, and that's a whole separate thing. It has its own separate point pool. You build general season deer points and you build limited entry deer points. So there's two separate deer drawings you can apply for as a resident and a non-resident in Utah.
Okay, I didn't know that. That's great info. Okay, let's talk elk a little bit. And by the way, I know that the Utah regulations or the Utah draw is, I believe, March 5th is the deadline.
Yep.
And if people haven't, this episode's going to air tomorrow. If people need to get dialed in, they can reach you. Where can they reach you, David?
At the Huntin' Fool at 435-865-1020.
Okay. And also, what's your contact info for NorthRim Outfitters?
They can reach me at NorthRimHunts@gmail.com.
Okay. Okay, great. Let's shift to elk in Utah. I have 15 points for elk in Utah, so I'm starting to pay more and more attention. One of my trepidations or nervousness about putting in for Utah as an archery hunter, it seems like the season dates are always so early. I'm kind of one of those guys that, I've shot some big bulls, and I'm a little bit spoiled in that I really want to just hunt them when they're rutting. And, honestly, to go hunt a bull in August maybe and sneak up on them or, sit in a tree stand or what have you just to kill a big bull, I'm kind of a little bit past that. So I've been hoping that maybe Utah's archery seasons would maybe move back a little bit. And my other impression, I've only been on one Utah elk hunt. It was on the Boulder unit with Steve Chapello, probably a buddy of mine 7 or 8, maybe 10 years ago. And one of the things that bothered me a little bit on that was that there were spike and cow and archery deer hunters at the same time over the counter. Can you speak a little bit about that and give me your maybe top 3 elk picks for Utah for archery?
Sure. I really don't see that those overlapping general season hunts ever changing. I think they might vary from unit to unit. I know they shut down the spike hunting on the Monroe just last year, and it had been going on for 3 years as well. So it's just the whole trying to appease both sides, the opportunist and the trophy hunter. And I'm with you. I've been so frustrated on that when I've had clients. because of those same reasons. But even taking it one step further, you'll always catch rut on that last week of the archery hunt, but what you also catch is rifle hunters scouting for their upcoming hunt. Sure. Utah's rifle hunts start the day after the archery hunts end. And so those guys, that last 3 or 4 days of your archery season, I mean, they can be so crowded, and there's people blowing on bugles, and they don't even have a tag in their pocket. So what I usually try to do is within the last 15 days of the archery season, I try to back off and not hunt the very last 3 days and try to get a 10-day time frame somewhere in there. Because if it gets cold, if we get a good cold snap or something like that, those bulls will start piping up and it can be fun. But as far as the top 3 picks, that Boulder Mountain archery hunt, it's awesome. I love it. I mean, it's kind of, the Paunsaugut's my favorite deer unit to hunt and guide on, and the Boulder's probably my favorite elk. I mean, it's just, the unit has a great elk population as well as incredible genetics, meaning you don't need an old bull to grow a giant bull. But even having said that, the Boulder has some really nasty country, which allows bulls to at least reach a mature age. And it's one of the rare units that we guide on that I literally love to hunt all the seasons, but that archery hunt's, it's pretty dang fun because you can get away from the crowds there. I mean, there's some nasty stuff on that eastern side, that a lot of guys, even if they're there 4 days early to scout for the rifle hunt, they're not going to hike down in that just to hike back out. They might look at it from a distance. So,
and from a bugling standpoint, educate me a little bit. I mean, can you get into some pretty darn good bugling in those 10-day windows that you're talking about?
Yep, you can. And the one common, I wouldn't really call it a complaint, but I think one of the more common letdowns that I have from clients that are in camp is not anything we've done, but when they draw even a rifle tag, something that's supposed to be smack dab in the middle of the rut, even during that 9-day rifle hunt, I mean, you're lucky to get 2 or 3 days of just off the charts screaming from daylight to dark all night long, things like that. And so I think when most guys get those tags, they think, I'm going to have 9 days of bulls screaming their guts out of just, holy crap, it's going to be awesome. And so we capitalize on the, I can tell, we can tell by elk behavior and what's going on that, man, these are going to be the days we need to really get after it and kill, So, the archery season is really, really similar. That first good frost, which is usually around the 1st of September, man, they'll light up for a few days just hard and heavy. And that's another reason why I like to really be there then is you have that window to capitalize on the best that it's going to be with that archery tag in your pocket. So, the best bulls that we've ever guided on the Boulder, ironically enough, was an archery bull that was 403 as a typical and netted like 396 as a giant. So wow. We killed him on the archery hunt. But we typically sell the Boulder hunts like 350 plus hunts. But I don't think we've ever killed a bull off the Boulder under 350. But again, also too, I'm a firm believer in underselling and over delivering. So if I'd hate to throw a number out there just to get a guy to sign on the dotted line and then, have him be a little
disappointed.
Exactly. So,
so the Boulder's number 1, and what would be 2, 3
for archery only?
Yep.
The beaver can be really, really, really good. The unit as a whole was created for big bulls. There's a lot of rough country where a guy can get lost and have some beautiful high mountain elk country all to himself. The north end of the unit had a burn a few years ago that's cranking right now. In the middle and the south ends of the beaver have been notorious for, harboring a boatload of cows, making it a hot spot for when that rut does get swinging. So, the beaver would have to be right there. I personally, I would probably kind of have a tie for third, and it's both ends of the spectrum. I love the Monroe. The Monroe isn't what it used to be at all. I mean, we killed a couple bulls off there last year. I think the biggest one was like 358 or something. The spike hunting that was there for 3 straight years did take a toll on the recruitment. They're killing those spikes, so there's nothing to come up and replenish what was taken. So, but it's such a fun hunt. It's beautiful country. I can almost take any age class of hunter, any skill level of hunter, and have a phenomenal, just off the charts hunt. As far as killing big bulls, it's probably not up there. But like I said earlier, the other end of that spectrum would be probably the Dutton archery. Your success is it's got to be one of the lowest success for archery in the state. But there's some giant bulls that summer there, and so while you might not be putting the odds in your favor at killing a bull, when it comes to archery, even with my own personal tags, especially with my own personal tags, I'd rather hunt 10 days and have a chance every one of those 10 days and fail and go home with a tag in my pocket than hunt for 10 days and get that one small window of opportunity, and that's the archery season on the Dutton is like that. You could be hunting a giant bull every day. You really could, but it's really not conducive to archery hunting. I mean, there's a few places we have, and where some pretty hard to get to wallows and some things like that where we can maybe dial one in, but it's a rough unit. It's thicker than crap on that north end, and it's big, nasty, tough, remote country in the central and southern end of it. But so that would probably be, like I say, I mean, if a guy called me with a Monroe tag and wanted to book an archery hunt, I'd beg him to book with us, and same with the Dutton, but for two separate reasons. So,
yeah. Well, so that wraps up elk, and I know you've got limited time here. Let's cover sheep units real fast. I know you're a sheep nut like I am as well. Cover your 3 favorite sheep units in Utah.
Well, there's only 3 units that a non-resident can apply for desert sheep. This is Zions, the Caparowits, and the Santa Fe. And out of the 3, the Zions unit is hands down, I mean, light years above the other 2 in population, quality of rams, and quality of hunt, in my opinion. We killed the new state record desert ram on the Zions last year and officially netted in at 178. It's in a class of its own when compared to the other units. But I think what guys got to know before we go any further about desert sheep in Utah is Utah's not known for producing many book rams annually. Mostly due to smaller base genetics, to be honest with you. But our sheep herds are growing. They're growing by leaps and bounds, as a matter of fact. In fact, the DWR just transplanted, I think, 50 or so sheep from the Zions and took them over to some of the units in the southeast portion of the state. So it's kind of like our sheep little factory. But every year, it blows my mind that we always have hunters on the Zions or helping the statewide guy or something like that. And every year it's like, we go back to the same ramming grounds and things, and a new 8-year-old plus ram shows up that we've never seen before. So there's a huge section of the unit on the northwest portion that's wilderness, and it's not legal to guide in or outfit in. Guys can hunt it, but we can't legally take hunters in there for guiding or outfitting. And it's the Canaan Wilderness area that butts up against Zions National Park, and so there's a lot of sheep that, for whatever reason, they just go tram off and end up in a camp. So there's a lot of sheep there is what I'm trying to get at. Yeah. So as long as that keeps going, cross our fingers, hold our breath that the herds maintain and continue to provide a lifetime of healthy sheep. In the Zions, they're starting to spread that genetic around. The other unit, the Caparowits, is a smaller population of sheep. It's a lot of fun to hunt. There was a 169-inch ram killed there last year, which is abnormally high for the unit. Most hunters harvest, rams in the high 50s, low 160s. And I like because it's close to home. It's just out towards Lake Powell from Kanab, just east of the house here. So I'm right between it and the Zions. So, it depends. Last year we had that statewide guy. We spent a few days looking for that 169-inch ram that was killed, and we never did find it, but we heard it was a lot bigger. And the Santa Fe, it's the easiest hunt between it and the Caparowits, but the sheep can tram a long ways, and timing is really the key to success on the Santa Fe. And personally and truthfully, I don't like the look of the rams there. They flare really good, but they're kind of wimpy, they don't hold that mass, and they don't have big bases to start with. So, but they're pretty, pretty sheep. They got that big flare. So I don't know. Like I say, the Zions, in my opinion, it's about the only unit that a non-resident, if you're wanting to kill a bigger ram, Utah standards, you need to put in for the Zions. If you don't care and you want to put the odds in your favor, then put in for the Caparowits or the Santa Fe. They're pretty much sixes as far as draw odds. I think it was 1 in 3,500 on the Zions and 1 in 1,800 and 1 in 1,500 on the Caparowits and the Santa Fe. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, David, that's awesome. You spent a good hour here with us, and we covered a lot of topics. And I just want to thank you for your years of professionalism. I want to thank you for spending time with us here, and really was a real informational, educational hour, and I learned some stuff. And look forward to talking next time. And I just value your friendship and wish you the best of success here this spring. You going to chase any turkeys coming up?
Yeah, me and my wife both drew southern tags here in Utah, so she's all excited. And I don't know if we'll get back down the White Mountain unless you got an open spot.
Well, I don't actually have a spot, but I am going to go with Remza and Griegos and that clan. That place is hard to beat. But sounds like you'll be out shed hunting and chasing some turkeys potentially, and just wish you the best, and thanks for being with us, and thanks for your time.
Oh, thanks for having me. Call anytime. I'd love to share what little knowledge I have with all your listeners, and wish you guys the best of luck too.
Yeah, and how do guys follow you on Instagram? What's your handle on Instagram?
Instagram, it's just Virostko. It's V as in Victor, IROSTKO.
Okay, perfect. And Facebook?
David Virostko.
Okay, and they can also reach you at the Huntin' Fool or email you at, NorthRimHunts@gmail.com?
Yes, sir.
Okay, David, thanks a lot. Thanks for your time, and I'll be in touch with you, okay?
Sounds good, buddy. Thanks.
All right, take care.
You too.
That was a great show, getting to spend some time with Huntin' Fool hunting consultant David Virostko and Northrim Outfitters owner. What a wealth of knowledge, and just a all-around great guy, great hunter. I'd like to thank my listeners on the J. Scott Outdoors podcast for tuning in. And I'd like you to do us a favor. If you like what you're hearing on iTunes, give us a review. Subscribe, give us a review, and 5-star review, and give us your comments. If you have any questions or comments on the show, you can also email them to me at jscottoutdoors@gmail.com. I'd like to thank you for tuning in. You can follow us on Instagram at jscottoutdoors. You can go to our website at jscottoutdoors.com. We also have a YouTube channel under J. Scott Outdoors. And just thank you for listening and spending your day with us. And until next time, God bless.